I played a lot of games in 2025, and today I will be ranking every single one of them on a scale of 1 to 10, starting with... Now, I actually already recorded a full review for Sonic Frontiers, but as we'll get more into later, I've had an extremely busy year, which caused me to have to sideline a lot of the reviews I had planned this year, which is why I am so glad I get to talk about this game now. I played Sonic Frontiers and its DLC in December of this year, and though the game isn't perfect, you can tell that the developers put a lot of effort into this game. Each of the 5 zones do different things from one another, and I love that the DLC allows you to play as Amy, Tails, and Knuckles. Getting to play as them in this open world format was a whole lot of fun. I loved how broken the tornado was. Playing as these guys was so fun that my dream Sonic game now is just this open world game, and you get to play as a ton of the Sonic characters, each with their own movesets, but maybe there can be categories of power characters, flying characters, speed characters, kind of the way Heroes does. I think a Sonic Frontiers 2 being a spiritual Sonic Heroes 2 would be totally radical. I ranked this game a 6 out of 10. I rolled credits on it twice. Once for the main story and once again for the DLC, which acts as kind of an alternate ending to the original Sonic Frontiers. If I ever have time to finish the full review that I made, I have a lot of thoughts about the differences between the game's 2 endings. But ultimately, I'm glad the DLC allowed me to play as Amy, Tails, and Knuckles. After beating Frontiers the second time, I moved on to... Metroid Zero Mission is a fun game. It's the best way to experience the original Metroid, which I also dabbled in when playing Metroid Zero Mission. In fact, this is another full review that I recorded that I unfortunately had to put to the side. I recorded this review comparing and contrasting Zero Mission to the original Metroid, and it was going to be a start to this Metroid series on the channel, where I really delve into the Metroid franchise proper, because, full transparency, Metroid Zero Mission was the first Metroid game I have played and beat to date. If I ever have free time, I would love to still post that full review for you guys someday, because I do think it is an interesting discussion talking about the original Metroid and then Zero Mission that came later. But for now, I'll leave you with this. Metroid Zero Mission is a fun game. The NES skeleton that makes up this game unfortunately shows its age, but it was enough fun to roll credits on. I give Metroid Zero Mission a 5 out of 10. After finishing Zero Mission, I wasn't the most excited to move on to another 2D Metroid game. So instead, I switched things up and checked out Metroid Prime 1 Remaster. And this, so far, is my favorite Metroid game I've played. I love the camera work and establishing shots that give this world so much character. You enter this area and the camera just zooms all around and shows you what you're about to explore. The world is a character in itself, which makes sense since the main gameplay loop is scanning your environment and quietly learning about the world around you. It's a very atmospheric game, and the scan gameplay was so much fun. But don't let that fool you. This game is brutal at times with its challenge. I had to tap out around the Phazon Mines section of the game. For those who have played Metroid Prime, you know the brutal gauntlet I'm talking about. And I'll be honest, this is about where I burnt out on the game, and I was ready to try something different. I give this game a 6 out of 10. During last year's holiday sale, I picked up a bunch of classic games for a really cheap price on the Nintendo eShop. One of those games being the Spyro Reignited trilogy. I played Spyro A Hero's Tale on the GameCube growing up, but other than that, I've never actually checked out the original Spyro titles. So of course, we had to start with the first one, and I really liked Spyro 1's gameplay loop. I like how Spyro controls. He's a very unique platformer with his gliding ability, but I'll be honest, some levels are impossible without guides. The supercharge is very cool and unique to Spyro, but man, do they expect you to do some crazy maneuvering with that thing in this first title. All in all, I was still able to roll credits on this one, and even got a 120% complete rating. I don't know why 120%, this game quirky like that. I loved freeing these dragons from their crystal prisons, and even though most of the dialogue they spouted out was pretty useless, it was still a fun reward.
Any advice before this battle?
Advice? A wise dragon once told me aim high in life, but watch out for flying boxes.
Huh?
I give Spyro 1 a 6 out of 10. Moving right on to Spyro 2, I also give this game a 6 out of 10. It's technically better than Spyro 1, but I was less hooked by it. I just liked freeing dragons from their crystal prisons more than just random Saturday morning cartoon scenarios this game throws you in. I do appreciate the animation the remakes of these games bring to these cutscenes, but I just didn't care about a lot of it. I didn't care about the titular villain, Ripto. Still a fun time. Still rolled credits, still got 100% on this game. Yeah, this game stops at 100%. It doesn't do the 120% thing, which when you see the trilogy screen laid out, yeah, I hate it. I wish they were consistent. Instead of going right to Spyro 3, I needed a little shake-up from platformers. I don't think you can get more different from platformers than Ace Attorney. I really tried to give Ace Attorney a fair shot, and I'm due to play more of this game someday, but I'll be honest, I tapped out after the third scenario of this game. The one with the movie star samurai who's like framed for murder. I do like the characters and the world of Ace Attorney, but yeah, I don't think lawyer games are for me. But if you like lawyer games, and if you like point and click games, Ace Attorney is the game for you. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Right down the middle. After dropping Ace Attorney, I went ahead and checked out Pac-Man World Re-Pac, another game I got on that massive holiday sale, and I'm glad I didn't pay much for this one because while it was charming, it was also pretty mid. Level 1 of the game lasted too long, and maybe this is embarrassing, you can let me know in the comments, but I couldn't figure out how to complete the level. So yeah, I dropped the game at level 1, 3 out of 10. Next up, I played The Plucky Squire, a cute 2D Zelda-like game, which I feel like would be a great title to teach kids reading, by the way. My only problem with it was poorly optimized for Switch. Lots of lagging moments, and the game even crashed on me once. Despite that, I really like this game. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I rolled credits on it. Portal 1 deserves all the hype. It is a gamer's game. Playing with the portal gun is so unique, and I think everyone should experience it at least once. 9 out of 10, easy roll credits. When the Switch 2 was announced and I found out that the GameCube was being added to the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pass, I finally bit the bullet and decided to upgrade my membership. This is something I've been wanting to do but have been on the fence about for a long time, and now that I finally upgraded, I really wanted to try Kururin, which can be played on the Gameboy Advance online service. This was one of those really hard to access games before it came to the NSO, so I knew whenever I finally upgraded my NSO subscription, I would be checking this game out. For those of you who recognize this, you may recognize it as an assist trophy from Super Smash Bros. You play as this bar thing spinning around the course, and like a game of Operation, you don't want the bar to touch the walls. It's very cute, it's a fun concept, it's hard, and I just want to say, thank goodness for the NSO rewind feature. I abused it a lot in this game. I still chip away at it from time to time, and I would give it a 7 out of 10. Another game, if you want to call it that, I checked out after upgrading my NSO subscription was the Splatoon 2 Octo Expansion. For those of you who don't know, if you have the Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pass, you get access to various DLCs, including the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Pass, and the Splatoon 2 Octo Expansion. Now, this is something I've always wanted to check out because I always wanted my Splatoon 2 to have a little more story to it, and that's exactly what I got. The Octo Expansion is a step up from base Splatoon 2's story mode, while also providing a good challenge. The presentation of the subway system adds a lot to make this a more cohesive experience. I dabbled in this one for a couple hours, but ultimately didn't finish it. 6 out of 10. Donkey Kong for Game Boy. This one's kinda random. I think I just checked it out on a whim while browsing through my NSO games, but it is really fun. You a fan of arcade Donkey Kong Jr., as well as the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series? Well, this is an underrated title that has elements of all of these series. It's pretty much the precursor to Mario vs. Donkey Kong. You have to check it out if you haven't. It is perhaps the best game on the Game Boy. It's wild how well the controls hold up on this one. I also casually chip away at this one from time to time, and it's always a treat. I give it an 8 out of 10. Another game I checked out, because I could now with my Nintendo Online Expansion Pass, was the rare classic Banjo Kazooie. Starting up this game, you get a peak musical intro. Love the characters in this game. Banjo and Kazooie have a very fun movement kit. But if I can be real with you, as much as I love the song Mumbo Mountain for meme potential, actually playing the level, getting kinda stuck, and having that tune loop and loop and loop almost drove me insane. It was so annoying. And because of that, I dropped the game right then and there at Mumbo Mountain. Was it a tad unfair to Banjo Kazooie? Maybe. But hey, I want to have fun while playing my video games, and being annoyed is not fun. So yeah, despite the promising start, I'm unfortunately gonna have to score this game a 3 out of 10. Oof. I played the Super Mario RPG remake for Switch on a couple of friends' recommendation, and man, that was one of the best recommendations I ever got. Despite its age, this is a surprisingly fun RPG, still by today's standards and pacing. It's simple, but well executed. You have a great party. Of course, Geno is a classic, but Malo is pretty amazing as well. This game has exceedingly charming visuals and storytelling. It was very easy to roll credits on this one. I picked this up for $30. I think that was more than worth it, and I give the game an 8 out of 10. You probably saw this next one coming, but with my upgrade to the NSO Expansion Pass, I had to check out the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course tracks. And I've never been shy on this channel to say that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is my least favorite Mario Kart game, but I went into this DLC with an open mind. Overall, it did not raise my opinion on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, however. The booster course was a whole lot of mid, and by mid, I mean Mario Kart Tour tracks. Highlights on the booster course were the bathtub track, as well as Wii Rainbow Road. Wii Rainbow Road, in fact, is now the de facto best Rainbow Road in series history. I'd argue even better than Mario Kart World's Rainbow Road. I tried every booster course track at least once, and I feel confident in giving it a rating of 4 out of 10. Mario Kart World, however, 7 out of 10. This game is better than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and I will die on that hill. It was a much needed shake-up to the series. It has fantastic music and Pixar level visuals. Since the big update, it's much less annoying to unlock all the characters now. Just throw on all Kameks in your custom items and you're good to go. I played this game until I unlocked Rainbow Road, and I got gold 1 star in at least every Grand Prix Cup. We are now officially at the point of the video where the Switch 2 is out. I do have a video on this channel from the launch of the Switch 2 where I do a unboxing of the system if you're interested in checking that out. But yeah, every game that came before Mario Kart World on this list, I played on my trusty Switch 1 OLED. That marks the era of me trying to play a lot of games in my backlog, as well as kill time for the Switch 2 to release, because I was so hyped for this system to come out, and perhaps even more excited to play GameCube games on the thing. So of course, the first GameCube game I played on my Switch 2 was F-Zero GX. The story cutscenes in this one are fun, but vapid. They also look like they were dipped in Vaseline for some reason. That being said, the actual tracks and gameplay look great. This game is also tough as nails. For the best time with this game, I really recommend using a GameCube controller. The game expects you to move your thumb a lot between the Y and A button, kind of keeping the thumb on both and pivoting back and forth, which is not as smooth with how the Switch 2 Pro controller is laid out. You'll see what I mean when you're actually sitting down to play. I give it a 5 out of 10. On to another GameCube game offered through the Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pass. I decided to check out Soul Calibur 2. This is a solid party fighting game alternative to Smash Bros. This is primarily because the game rewards button mashing. It's a fun casual fighter that you can tinker around in the single player and multiplayer modes for hours. I would say I put in about twice the amount of time I did into Soul Calibur than I did for F-Zero. It just hooked me a little better, and I would rank it a 7 out of 10. Playing around with the GameCube was fun, and Mario Kart World was certainly a cool time, but at this point, I really wanted to test the power of my Switch 2. I wanted to see a PS4 quality game that I had been missing out on for the last decade of gaming, and I think there was no better game for me to check out than Cyberpunk 2077. Cyberpunk is set in an intriguing world. I wouldn't say I love Night City, but I appreciate it. It was a fun first setting to really show off the visual power of the Switch 2. It was also a great way to test out mouse mode. I was surprised at just how fluid playing Cyberpunk on the couch was in mouse mode. And I was pretty engaged in the story, till I got to what I like to call the brain dance that broke the camel's back. I really hated these brain dance segments where you have to like go into people's memories and like sleuth around and edit the timing and everything. It was weird. They call it editing, but it's really just manipulating time. It's pretty weird. It's an awful clunky mechanic if I'm being real with you. And after enough of these, I just had to put the game down. I think how brain dances are portrayed in the anime is much cooler. It's kind of like a psychedelic drug trip, and there's more going on with it than that. The anime in general is great. I watched the first couple episodes of the first season and really liked what I saw. I also kind of dropped it though when I dropped Cyberpunk the game. All in all, my experience with both the game and the Cyberpunk Edge Runners anime were a 6 out of 10, and I'd like to return to both someday. Be warned, the gameplay loop for Cult of the Lamb is very addicting. This is one of those one more level till 4 a.m. type games. You know, those games where you tell yourself, just one more level, just one more run, and then you end up playing the game all night. I legitimately did this with Cult of the Lamb on a couple of nights. It's a very unique roguelike game where you're a cult leader, and the better your cult is doing, the better you do during your runs in the dungeons. And there's a lot to this game. game, and I would just say if you're a fan of roguelikes, you have to check it out. But beware, you may end up spending a lot of time in this game. Love the art style on this one. Want to shout out my friend Marinara Man, who played this game in one of his bucket list videos. And ever since he talked about it, it's been on my radar as well. Was glad to finally give it a try. I rank it an 8 out of 10. I finished the main game and will be revisiting the post game once I'm out of rehab. I'm in rehab because this game is crack. When the GameCube Online service dropped, it didn't drop with very many games. 3, in fact. 2 of which I've already talked about in this list. There was Wind Waker as well. So yeah, pretty slim pickings. That made it kind of exciting, kind of a moment when a 4th GameCube game was added to the lineup. That game being Super Mario Strikers. I played this game for a few hours around its release on the Nintendo Switch Online service. It's fun, has a very unique tone compared to other Mario sports titles. This is the gritty, edgy one. It's splashed in a coat of mud like a soccer player sliding through the mud. Daisy in this game straight up scares me. I enjoyed my time with this one, but I don't think I got to properly experience Mario Strikers. I only played it single player, and this one seems best enjoyed with friends. There really isn't anything of a single player campaign in this one. The roster also feels a bit limited, and for that reason, I'm gonna leave it now with a 5 out of 10. Oh, zebra, 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 zebra. DK Bananza is an incredible, one-of-a-kind game, but also kind of mindless. I really enjoyed my time with DK Bananza, but I do wish the difficulty curve kicked in a little sooner. The first few bosses are piss easy. I beat the game with over 500 bananas, played 50 plus hours, dabbled in the kinda lame post-game, didn't touch the DLC, and in the end, I give this Switch 2 GOTY contender a 7 out of 10. This next game I played in direct response to DK Bananza. While I love the freedom of that game and the absolute power that DK has to just smash everything in sight, that ironically is what led to a lot of the game feeling mindless. Limits are a good thing in video games because they breed creativity. And so it was really nice to scale things down from big strong monkey to small powerless robot the size of a soda can in Chibi Robo, another drop on the GameCube Online service. Chibi Robo, if you don't know, is about this little robot named Chibi Robo, who's brought in to help around the house of this financially struggling family. What this gives you is a game with a simple, grounded, but poignant story. I didn't expect the cutscenes in this game to go so hard. Being so small and limited playing as Chibi Robo makes exploring the house so fun and adventurous. The sound design in this game is very unique. And I don't usually like these, but I really like the day and night cycle in this game. It brings some variety to this one setting of the house. The humans are out more during the day, and things come out at night. And I also like that you can adjust the length of the day and nights. You can make them last 5, 10, or 15 minutes, which brings a lot of flexibility to what is otherwise a usually very restrictive mechanic. It's also just super satisfying to clean up around the house as Chibi Robo. I like the little song that plays when he's cleaning up with his toothbrush. I didn't beat this game, but I want to. I made it upstairs before I dropped this game. I give it an 8 out of 10. After scaling things down with Chibi Robo, I had to shift gears once again to a more high-octane game. And man, there was no better game for that than Broforce. I love this game's vibe. It feels like one of those games that Mordecai and Rigby would play in regular show. It's arcadey, lots of explosions, has a great pixel art aesthetic, chock full of references to the 80s. If you like 80s action movies and or Contra, this game is an easy pickup for you. I got 58% through the campaign, 9 out of 10. The next game I played this year was Cat Quest 3. I have no previous experience with Cat Quests 1 or 2, but I learned about this game from the Kit and Krista podcast. Kit said it was one of his favorite games from either 2023 or 2024, and if there's anything you have to know about me is that I love both cats and pirates. However, Cat Quest 3 is not merely mashing cats with pirates, though that would have truly been enough for me. No, this game has a really cool art style where you're traversing on top of a world that is designed to look like a pirate map. It looks like you're playing the game on the pirate map. Also, and this is kind of critical to a great pirate game, the combat in this one is so much fun. Like, I was surprised at how in-depth the combat was. You have a variety of moves to choose from, mismatch, and upgrade for both on land and naval combat. Definitely a game that's worth your time. Goes on sale a lot, so I would just wishlist it on your Switch eShop and get it when it's on a sale. And when you do, you're welcome for the recommendation. I played this game for about 6-7 hours, 7 out of 10. One new feature that I really love that rolled out with the Switch 2 eShop, other than it running properly, is the new For You tab. Basically, every week, this tab refreshes, and you're recommended 10 games based off of the algorithm of games you've played in the past. It's a really neat feature, and a great way to fill up your wish list with way too many games. One game I found through this For You page was Donut County. Donut County is pretty much reverse Katamari. Instead of rolling up a ball and collecting more and more stuff to make the ball bigger and bigger, you control a hole in the ground that you move around to swallow up stuff and make the hole bigger and bigger. This game has the most adventure time characters and aesthetic ever. My only critique is I wish the levels were longer. Most of them only take a couple of minutes to beat, and really it feels like the levels are ending right as they're getting going. This game only takes a couple hours to beat. I rolled credits on it, and I give it an 8 out of 10. I bet y'all were starting to think I forgot about Spyro 3, but after a long hiatus of playing other games, I finally decided to move my virtual game card from my OLED to my Switch 2 and boot back up the Spyro Reignited trilogy. So after all this time, what did I think of Spyro 3? Well, it's the best Spyro game out of the trilogy, but also the one I played the least, due to platformer burnout and lack of time this year. As of right now, I'm 11% into Spyro 3, and I definitely intend to 100% or 120%, whatever it is for Spyro 3. I plan to complete the thing eventually. But for now, I think it is the best controlling Spyro game. I think it's the easiest, but also the most fair. And the process of collecting dragon eggs is just as satisfying as freeing dragons was during Spyro 1. It's definitely more cohesive than collecting orbs in Spyro 2. I give the game a 6.5 out of 10. 6.5 because it's better than Spyro 1 and 2, which both scored a 6, but it doesn't quite feel like a 7 out of 10 game to me. Let's pull back a bit to timestamp ourselves. At this point in 2025, we have now hit October. I fell off of Spyro 3 right around spooky season, and I wanted to play a game fitting for spooky season. Previously on this channel, I've played through the entirety of Luigi's Mansion 1, so I figured Luigi's Mansion 2 was a great game for this Halloween. I did not pick up the Switch remake. I legit, at my local game store, store found a copy of the 3DS game. It was the Nintendo Selects version, and my game store was still selling it for 20 bucks. Pretty awesome. Went ahead and picked that up, and I'm glad I did not burn my money on the overpriced remake because I did not love this game. I wanted to like it more, but when I got to the second mansion and there was that level where the ghosts steal the clock hands and you have to go search for them, I just got too annoyed to continue. This game could be really fun if it wasn't split up by this level structure thing. Like, I don't even care that there's multiple mansions, but each mansion you go to, you keep getting pulled out by EGAD. They try to make it this more level-based game, but I much would have rather had it be in the style of the first game where you're just dropped in the mansion. You have a couple of save points in the mansion that you can save at and finish the mansion at your pace. Luigi's Mansion 2 gets a 4 out of 10. Also in October, Pokemon Legends ZA dropped. And let me tell you, this was a highly anticipated game for me. Those who have been around the channel will not be surprised to hear that I am a big Pokemon fan, but also that the last few titles on the Switch have left a lot to be desired. So I was extremely excited that they were taking their time with Legends ZA to not just rush it out in 2024 and really give it the coat of polish that it deserved. And say what you will about all the building textures being the same, I think Game Freak did exactly that. They offered one of the most polished and fun Pokemon experiences on the Switch. I know it's a low bar to say, oh, the game runs properly, but it does, and it's awesome. Gone are the nightmares of trying to play Scarlet and Violet on the original Switch 1 hardware. And I'll be brave and say it, I love the new battle system. I love that it's in real time and feels more like a battle from the anime. It's what I've always wanted from a Pokemon game, to feel like I'm battling with my Pokemon. That plus the side quests that really bring Lumiose to life, it felt like I was playing in the Pokemon anime world. And that really just delighted my inner child. I think this game has great team building, great battling, great characters. This is easily my favorite Pokemon game on the Switch. I rolled credits on this one, did all the post-game content you possibly could, and I've been savoring that before moving on to the Mega Dimension DLC. I know there's a lot of haters for this game online, but it was one of my favorite games to play this year. And since this is my ranking, I give Pokemon Legends ZA a 9 out of 10. It's not a 10 out of 10 because I am not just a Pokemon shill. I recognize this title isn't perfect, but I feel very satisfied after playing this one. I don't feel empty the same way I did after BDSP and Scarlet and Violet, or even Sword and Shield for that matter. I'm glad I played this one, and I'm excited to eventually replay it in the future. That's not something I've said about a Pokemon game since Black and White. Okay, we got another big Switch 2 game that released this year, and that is Kirby Air Riders. Sakurai created another great multiplayer game with this one, and he packs in the most single-player content I've seen since Super Smash Bros. Brawl. This game is truly special. I think more people should be talking about it. And I think this one is going to go down as one of the greatest games of all time. I think it's to date the prettiest game on the Switch 2. Maybe once I see Metroid Prime 4, I'll change my mind. I admittedly have not checked that game out yet. But yeah, I'm just so glad we got this game, man. It might be just a way for Nintendo to get Sakurai to agree to make the new Smash Bros. But for me, the means justify the ends. Check out Kirby Air Riders. It is the only game on this list that is going to get a 10 out of 10. And that may be recency bias. I may look back at that in the future and say, what the heck was I thinking? And then I would bump it down to an 8 out of 10. But as of right now, the hype for this game is real. 10 out of 10. Sticking with Kirby, I also went ahead and checked out the Kirby Star-Crossed World DLC. This one dropped sometime in the summer, which was kind of weird. Since this game had like that crystal-y aesthetic, I felt like it would be the perfect holiday game. And so I saved it for November time and had a good time with it. The crystal aesthetic was very pretty, but ultimately this level pack was pretty underwhelming. That being said, Kirby and the Forgotten Land is still a great that game, and these crystallized versions of the water level and the carnival level were pretty awesome. Great little visual spectacle on the Switch too, and I'm not upset with my time with this game. I remember loving Kirby and the Forgotten Land when it first came out, and I do think this DLC would have been better served if it came out closer to the original release. Obviously, it's a Switch 2 upgrade, yada yada yada, but still. It just felt like this was too little too late. And it only gets a 6 out of 10 because the base Kirby and the Forgotten Land is so great. After Kirby, I went ahead and checked out Snake Pass. If you remember like the really early days of the Switch 1, where there were not a lot of games out on that thing beyond Breath of the Wild, I remember I was browsing the eShop constantly, just seeing if there were new indie games for me to pick up and try. And I remember Snake Pass from those early Switch 1 dregs days, and just having zero interest in this thing. Cut to 8 years later in 2025, and the game gets recommended on my For You page, and is also on a sale for like $2 for this year's big holiday sale. I said, yeah, sure, why not? And I downloaded it. And hey, I'm glad I did. This is a really unique platformer with fun, challenging movement mechanics. You have to slither around as this snake, and you have different buttons to control his verticality and his ability to grip on things. And yeah, they just really nailed making you feel like a snake slithering around. It's quite impressive. I think this game would have had a lot more legs if the visual and audio presentation had more sauce to it. As it is, this game is just kind of bland in its presentation, and it doesn't really have a personality beyond you are a snake slithering around, and it's fun to do that, but it's not like a Spyro the Dragon or a Crash Bandicoot where it elevates and puts these characters in a world. And hey, Spyro's storytelling is very simplistic. I didn't need a lot from this snake game, but as it is, I have no reason to care about playing as this snake. I think with a sequel, they could do a lot with this idea, but for now, I give it a 4 out of 10. Which brings us to the last game on our list, and it's another GameCube Online drop. This time we have Wario World, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't even know this game existed. Like, it is very rare for me to hear about a Nintendo game and say, oh, I've never heard of that game before, because I am deep in the Nintendo fandom. But somehow, I just missed Wario World being a thing. And when my friend Caden told me that Wario World had dropped on the Nintendo Switch Online service, I said, what the heck is a Wario World? So, now that I have been acquainted with Wario World, what do I think? This game makes me sick playing it. Again, just everything about how it's like edited and flashing and like the visuals look all greasy. It really is nausea-inducing to look at this game. Wario is admittedly very fun to control. It's cool having a 3D platformer action type game where you can play as Wario. But that can only carry this game so far, unfortunately. I played it till I got too sick, 2 out of 10. And that was my ranking for every single game I played in 2025. I started this year with 55 games on my radar. 55 games that I potentially wanted to play. And I ended up playing 33 games. To compare, last year I only played 18 games total. So in 2025, I played almost twice the games I did in 2024. 33 out of 55? I like that ratio. Though I do wish I rolled credits on a couple more of the games I started. Ultimately, this was a fantastic year for me in gaming. I got to catch up a lot on my bucket list, and I played most of the titles I was interested in picking up for the Switch 2 during its launch year. And yeah, I've just been loving my Switch 2. It really is just a bigger, better Switch, which is everything I really wanted. Well, they could have given me themes, but I guess we'll wait for that one with the Switch 3. Thank you guys so much for watching. On screen now is my updated bucket list for 2026. There's a lot of games, new and old, that I want to check out. So I think it's about time I end my rambling here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, stay super.